everybody. Welcome to On the Rhodes. This is Donovan. How you guys doing? I'm in day number nine. Day number nine of the 12 days of Donovan. Man, having a lot of fun. I did something really crazy the other night. On social media, there's this challenge. It's called BBL. Basically, you take three different alcohols. You take Four Loko, a Buzz Ball, and you mix it with Beatbox. Pretty much that's 25% alcohol by volume. I was mixing all three of these together, started drinking them about this big of a glass. Man, three glasses in, I was lit. I was drunk. I made a fourth one, I couldn't finish it. Terrible. Don't try it. It was bad. I don't get hangovers, but it was a crazy one. Yeah, so welcome to the cast. And today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the apps that I use when I go camping, the ones I used when I camped the nation. Like I told you, the episode 0 I was talking about, I didn't pay for a lot of camps. I went ahead and did dispersed camping. We'll talk about that too. Different places that I camped because some states have some really cool. I stayed at some rest stops, and they have some really cool rest. Texas has some nice rest stops. New Mexico, Texas, their rest stop. Certain parking spaces, yeah, like a little picnic table if you want to go out there and cook. And in Texas, you get 24 hours. So if you're traveling, you need somewhere to stop for the night when you're in Texas, find a nice rest stop. They give you 24 hours. Some rest stops, they say 6 hours, and then you have to move on. Florida had security in theirs. Surprisingly, though, most of the rest stops, as long as you don't car camp, some people will park their RVs over there with the trucks and they don't bother you. A lot of those places aren't monitored, but you have state troopers coming through just to make sure everything's okay. Some of them have surveillance cameras, but if you're traveling in the middle of the night, you need somewhere to sleep, stop at a rest stop, give it a try. I found some really nice rooms, really quiet ones, secluded ones. Depends on what state you're in and where you're at. Anyway, so some of the some of the apps that I use when I went camping, we'll go over a couple of them. I'll start off with the first one is iOverlander, talking about the dispersed camping. iOverlander pretty much was on point. So what happens with iOverlander, you pull up the state that you're in, it'll show you different places. You click on the icon, and then people who stay there update it and let you know if it's still good to stay there. If it's closed, they'll mark it closed. Most of the time, it's pretty spot on. I stayed in some pretty cool places just using iOverlander. iOverlander helped me a lot in California. Once I got up in Northern California, by the Monterey area, so hard to find camp. I stayed at a hotel in Monterey. I did. Yeah, I bought a motel for the night. Got a shower, relaxed, pumped out a post for my channel. But iOverlander is a good one. Rec.gov is kind of an extension of the National Park Service website. National Park Service website, make sure you download their app. Their app is really good as far as giving you updates on what's open as far as trails. Some of these national parks you need a time entry permit. There's a couple of national parks where they have roads where they have to do time entry because some of these national parks, especially over this way, popular ones like Yosemite, Yellowstone, if you don't get there early, Mount Rainier was a little packed too. If you don't get to some of these national parks early, it's over. It's a wrap. You're going to get there, and you'll either be in line for a couple hours. They are good with the signs letting you know that you do have to. They let you know that you do have to grab a time entry. I lucked out the night before I went into Yosemite. I found out that you needed a time entry. I didn't do research. I dropped the ball on that one. So when I got to my camp, which was about an hour away, they do releases. Sometimes they release some the night before. I was able to snag one. That's why I was talking about do your research before you go to your national parks and go get that National Park Service app. It, I mean, it's the national parks themselves. They'll tell you what you need before you go in the park. If you try to camp in one of the national parks, rec.gov is kind of an extension of that. And rec.gov, all your permits and things that you need, camping, uh, you know, reserved camp spots and things like that. It'll direct you to rec.gov from the National Park Service. I was able to pay to camp in some of the national parks too. I think I stayed in Yosemite one night. I camped in Yellowstone, which was awesome, bear country, but I did sleep there. Those two apps are amazing as far as getting you information in real time what's going on with these national parks. Another one is Campendium. Campendium is pretty good too. They do a couple of things. You can find some dispersed campendium, but they also have paid campgrounds that aren't associated with national parks. You click on that, and it gives little icons. It shows you paid camping, dispersed camping, and other different things, dump stations. It has a wealth of information on it, and people also give their ratings, telling you if it's a do stay or don't stay. So that's a good one. HipCamp. HipCamp is another app that's pretty cool. I used HipCamp when I was in Arizona, and I found this campground. It looks like you're driving in a neighborhood. It's right outside of Socorro National Park. The Socorro part on the, I guess it would be on the west side of Tucson because Socorro is broken up into two different parks. It's still the same concept, but just two different areas. I looked up Hip Camp. I looked on there and I found this place. It's so awesome. And the camp hosts are amazing. It used to be a retreat. It used to be a retreat for women who were abused and wanted to get away and things like that. The camp hosts, every just about every night they build a fire because they have a common area you can sit. Me and this guy, a common area you could sit in. I met a guy out there. He was a seasonal guy, and he was paying to stay there. I believe he said he was going to stay for a month. And after I made dinner, I went over to the common area and hung out with him, and we watched the sunset. The campsites are broken up and far enough where you have privacy, but you can see some of your camp neighbors. They also have a couple of places where you can take your sleeping pad and go inside. I think one's shaped like a mushroom for a little bit extra money. But it was amazing. Had a great time at that camp. Some of these camp spots are really awesome. Primitive to laundromats. When I was it Yosemite? No, I was in Yellowstone. When I was in Yellowstone, they had they had a laundromat, so I was able to wash my clothes. They had showers. The showers were awesome. Time showers. You can go in there, and for a fee, you pay for your shower. But they have a sink. They have places you could put your clothes while you're taking your shower. I went in there. I shaved and everything because they had a sink with a mirror. So I groomed a little bit and hung out, took a shower, dried off, and was on my way. The Dirt. I haven't used the Dirt, but I heard the Dirt app is pretty good too, as far as meeting your needs. If you want to camp and find places, the Dirt is also a good app. And there's other apps out there, but these were the ones that I mainly used when I went out there to camp and find places to stay for the night or get my park passes or the time permits. Those were the main ones. Just to recap, iOverlander, rec.gov, the National Park Service, Campendium, and we have the Dirt. And I left out one thing when I was talking about iPhone and the satellite capability. It also has crash detection. If you have an iPhone Some people have been gotten into accidents, and they've been found because if you say, for instance, you get in an accident, your iPhone will see if you're okay. And if you don't respond to your phone in a certain period of time, it automatically calls 911. And then there's this automated message that they tell you, this person has been in an involved in a vehicle accident. Here's their coordinates. This is where they are. Also, with your Apple Watch, I forgot to tell you with the Apple Watch, you can, it has this thing called, I think it's called Wayfinder. Anyway, you activate it when you go on a hike, and if you get lost, it retrace your steps for you so you can get back to where you came from. And also, it has fall detection. There was some hikers that fell in the national park. He was hanging on the side of a cliff. His watch goes off, tells 911 that he fell, and they called him. And he's like, I'm hanging off the side of a cliff. They were able to rescue him because they had the coordinates. So Apple has some pretty good stuff that you can use. And also when with that satellite capability as well, you can talk to 911. It'll send your coordinates, and tow trucks, all kinds of stuff. They'll take care of all that for you if you're off the grid, which is important. You get stuck somewhere, it's going to cost some money. I know some people that got stuck in the mud. They were on their way to hike or camp, and they got stuck. So what they did was they were able to call for help, but I think it cost $1,200 to get out. Man, like wow. So yeah, planning ahead and making sure you have a plan, because if you going somewhere and you're in the middle of nowhere, you get stuck, you got to have a plan B. If you don't have a plan B, you're in trouble. That's why it's very important to have an emergency plan. When you're looking at these places to stay, also, if you do use iOverlander, or you use what's the other one, Campendium, they'll also tell you if the place is shady, because you don't want to be staying anywhere where it's shady. Have to look at that too. So I did some research when I was getting ready to go to San Francisco. Social media, and in a couple of the apps, they were talking about, don't leave your car. If you go this place or by the Golden Gate Bridge, don't leave your car, or make sure that you hide everything, because people come up into parking lots, they'll break your car windows out and take your stuff. It happened to me. Broke my car windows out, two of my car windows. This happened back this way. But when I was just outside of San Francisco, there's a part of the Pacific Coast Highway that's closed because it was too dangerous. So they closed it, but you can hike it and you can go and check it out, and has a nice view. Let me see, it was one, two, three, it was like five other cars there. So I get out and I go do some footage and take some pictures. And I walked, it was like a curve. Once you got around the curve, you can't see your cars. Me and another couple, we started walking back and talking. We see this police car coming in hot. I'm like, wow, the cops are here. I wonder what happened. So we get up there, cop gets out the car, and it's a couple that's a little bit older than me. Back window smashed out that fast. We weren't on the trail. I don't think we were on the trail more than 10 or 15 minutes, maybe at the most. That fast. They pulled up, boom, broke out the back window. They take they take fast things. Like if you have backpacks or something like that back there that they can see and they can take. When they broke into my car, took two backpacks. Unfortunately, one of them had my pum pum and the other one my passport. But yeah, you gotta take those things into account too when you're scouting out where you're going to camp, because you don't want to be somewhere where there's a high crime area, and increasing the odds of somebody trying to break in your car. I put up my window shades when I get out of my car. The back windows, the back small windows, and the rear window, so nobody can see inside my car. And whenever possible, if I go, so when I went to Seattle and when I went to Portland, what I did was if I could find some enclosed parking near an attraction, I did that in St. Louis as well, near an attraction I wanted to go to, because the arch in St. Louis is actually a national park, the Gateway Arch. A couple of blocks away is St. Louis Stadium, and they have enclosed parking. Well, I reserved the parking space, $10, went enclosed parking, still put I still put my window covers in. I felt that much safer leaving my car because I didn't have to worry about if I was going to come back and somebody broke in my car. I mean, it could happen, but enclosed parking reduces those odds. That was one of the things I did with my travel there. Yeah, and also just I can't stress this enough. Have a map because technology doesn't work all the time. Something might happen to your phone, something might happen to your Navi inside your car, and you might need to know exactly where you are. And it's kind of fun. When I stayed at the hotel, I actually pulled my map out and just to make sure I could maximize the distance in between attractions. Some of these places were a lot of driving. For me now, a 5 hour drive for me isn't nothing because I had to drive between some of these national parks, maybe a 10, 12 hour drive, 7, 8 hour drives. You spend a lot of time in the saddle. You spend a lot of time driving, you know, uh, having a plan and knowing where you're going. It takes away the stress, just knowing the next area that I wanted to be in. And that was a goal. If I didn't make it, I get tired. And I did. Some people drive through the night. I don't drive at night. When I was traveling, I think I traveled at night maybe 3 times. One of the times was after the first leg when I was driving back from Idaho. And I knew once I got into Nevada, I know pretty much I'm starting to figure out Nevada and their roadways and how they work. And I think I was 5 hours from home. Part of that would have been night driving. I got back here around 9:30, 10. Man, I just pushed on, put some kick ass music on, went and got some snacks from the convenience store, filled up that tank and made it happen. But most of my travel is during the day. I get up early. It's weird. I get up early when I'm traveling. When I'm living in my car, I'm pretty much up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. I want to be on the road by 8. So, but those are the apps. And next episode, we'll start hitting. I'm going to put some footage up with on the next episode. We'll start looking at these national parks. Pinnacles National Park was the first national park as far as road tripping was the first national park I went to. And we'll talk about some of the national parks. I'll show you some of the pamphlets I have. And we'll try in the next few episodes, we'll try to get a guest on so we could talk to our guests to see what they do as far as camping and what they do to make their camps successful. Cheers to day 9 of Donovan. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as well. And we'll see you on the next one. This is On the Roads.